Hi there, thank you for joining me in this video, which is the second in the series, as we master the techniques in Bert Dodson's book, Keys to Drawing. So let's see if we can all improve our drawing skills as we work through this full walkthrough series. Like I say, this is the second part of the series, but if you haven't watched the first video yet, I'll pop a link down in the comments section if you'd like to watch that first, so that the things we talk about here make a bit more sense. Just as a quick summary, in the first video we considered the importance of truly observing our subject, in that case our shoes. We held the contour lines that we could see in our minds and then we drew them onto the page. We tried to avoid over analysing or thinking too much about what we were seeing. We just drew what our eyes could see. We also tried to draw blind in short bursts, which is just to observe and to draw our subject without looking at the page. And now that we've done our first contour sketch in the first exercise, the first video, we'll now go on to consider what we'll do with all the inevitable little mistakes or areas that may look a bit distorted in our drawings. In this next part of the book, Dodson talks about how important it is for us to accept trial and error as part of our creative process. We make contour lines on the page and then we compare those contour lines back to our subject, and then we make adjustments and refinements as we go. And naturally we'll draw some things so they look slightly distorted, but Dodson suggests that it's usually best, rather than erasing those lines, just leave them in, and this saves us time erasing and correcting as we go, so we can spend more time observing our subject. Also, leaving these lines in place can make our drawings feel more alive and energetic, and it shows the artistic process of feeling out the forms and the contours of the subject. And personally, I really like the look of these types of sketches. I think they have a lot of character and it adds visual interest, and it just looks kind of raw and authentic. So these are just a couple of quick doodles just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. When we don't observe the subject, we just draw what we think we see, like from our memory banks. Like if for example I'm drawing a head on somebody, I'd naturally want to, in my memory banks, I think, oh, the head is above the shoulder, so I sort of show it there if I start to go on what I draw from what I already know about it. Whereas really, if I look and observe properly my subject, it may look nothing like that. The head may be down below the shoulder level, and we need to kind of observe things like that, kind of see where things are in relation to each other, and just sort of, I think that's just something you develop as you go, really, by eye. You get used to looking at these things and you gauge it. But the way that Dodson puts it is he says, ignore what we know and draw what we see. So I think that kind of simply sums it up, really. I mean, Dodson does acknowledge that having a knowledge of drawing principles like anatomy and perspective and foreshortening, they can all help us to understand what we're seeing. But he says that what he refers to as an innocent vision, that's what should come first, meaning that we view the subject as if it's the first time that we've ever seen it, not pulling from our preconceived ideas about it, but rather we ask ourselves, what do I see, rather than just thinking, what do I already know about this subject. Now, Dodson does acknowledge that having a knowledge of drawing principles like anatomy and perspective and foreshortening, they can all help us to understand what we are seeing, but he says that we should retain what he refers to as an innocent vision. That's what should come first, meaning that we view the subject as if it's the first time we've ever seen it, not pulling from our preconceived ideas about it. So rather than asking ourselves, what do I know about the subject when we look at it, we just ask ourselves, what do I see? I know quite often in my own drawings, something just feels off and I can't quite put my finger on what it is. So it's something I also need to work on, I think. when I get frustrated trying to figure out what's wrong, I just need to stop myself and to think, what do I see? Another thing that can be helpful when we are looking at our subject is to squint our eyes slightly, and it can help us to just sort of simplify what we're looking at, help us sort of simplify the shapes and the different values of shading and that kind of stuff. But that's something that we'll continuously talk about and work through in the following exercises through the book. So now on to today's exercise. We're going to be drawing our own hands, and this can be challenging because we're so used to seeing hands that we already have, like I've mentioned, we have this preconceived mental picture of what a hand should look like, but we need to get past that and just, like Dodson says, draw what we see. So we just sit down at a table and have your shoulder on the table and have your hand with your fingers pointing back towards you, towards your eyes. You can use a pencil, ink pen, fine tip marker pen, biro, anything like that really. I'm using a fountain pen because I haven't used it for a while and give that a go again. Just use whatever you have available really. And much like we did in the previous exercise, drawing our shoes, we just start sort of drawing the contour, get the main contour lines in, and then you kind of keep sort of holding the contours in your mind, draw them. Try doing some little bursts of drawing blind, so you're not looking at your page while you do it, you're just observing your subject while you're just drawing the contours. And then throughout the exercise, maybe just a couple of times, restate some of the contour lines as you need to, but don't sort of erase them and things, just correct them as you go. Yeah, it's a good little exercise, this one. You can sort of do anywhere, can't you? Because you don't need anything special for it. You've got your hand and a drawing pencil, pen, whatever you're using. So I think it's a good one, this. And once you've finished the exercise, kind of go back and just have a look at what you've drawn and think to yourself, have you really drawn what you saw? Or have you kind of reverted back to drawing what you know, like you've drawn the fingers long and like a hand, like a typical hand shape, like the symbol you have in your mind? Or have you actually drawn what you could see? And perhaps if you haven't drawn it quite like from what you could see, maybe try it again and just be more conscious of that and try that. So yeah, so that's that exercise today. I thought that was a good one, and you can always try it with your hand in different positions and things even. For the next exercise next week, it'd be good if you can get hold of a pepper, or just I guess some bit of fruit that you can draw. A pepper's ideal really, and like I say, I'll be adding all of these to a playlist, and I'll keep them all organised in one place like that, so that you can always work through them in order. Then I'll get the next one up next week sometime. So I hope you'll continue on with the series and join me for that one. I hope you'll all subscribe and follow along. So that's about it for now. Until next time, you and me, we're going to make it onwards.